Awesome. All right, everyone. This week we are talking about executive coaching and its value to business transformation. Our speaker this week is Kristy Flynn. She is the founder and CEO of GoCoach. Before she launched GoCoach, she was an HR executive working in corporate for over 10 plus years. Then her career include Pearson Education and also Constant Contact. So Kristy, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today.
Awesome. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So Kristy, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I come with close to 20 years of HR experience, as you mentioned earlier, with big companies like Pearson Education. I also worked at Fidelity and Publicis Group, and then, had an exit with Constant Contact. And then I had a couple of startup stints, and then I consulted for a couple of years, really helping mid-market and enterprise companies change and evolve. Where my core area in HR was always on the change management side of, scaling companies and transforming companies as they're going through constant change, which has become ever prevalent, especially, where we are right now with the future of work and, having a skills gap in this country. But I always had a big focus on the L&D, the learning and development side. Yeah. Also, just because as these companies continue to scale and grow, they were just recycling and replacing people all the time, which was just mind-boggling to me. And, having a passion for learning and education, especially coming from Pearson, it's just like, why can't we bring continuous education at scale? So yes. that essentially was the core of GoCoach.
Awesome. And then out of all of these experiences, Kristy, what made you focus on executive coaching?
Yeah, I mean, I brought in a ton of executive coaches for a lot of the companies that I work with, just for them to continue to hone their areas and develop, where they had gap areas. And the idea was, why can't we expand executive coaching and provide it for everyone, so that no one is left behind. And so seeing the power of magnitude and what those coaches did, especially when I was we were essentially transforming a publishing business into, a true education business. That's not an easy feat. And there's tons of different things. Yeah. And there's tons of different, gap areas on the hard and skills soft side area where people just need help. And even if you're an experienced pro in it, there's just so much change and ambiguity. And you need a coach as not only to help you with goals, but almost as a sounding board a lot of times, to be able to have an objective lens as to what you're going through and how to navigate it for things that you can't see because you're too close to it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So if you're an HR executive or maybe you're the head of operations, what are some signs that your people may need a coach? Or what are some triggers, some indicators?
Well, I think right now the biggest sign is that, and it's one of the reasons why coaching should just be part of every company, to continue to invest in people. I mean, we have a skills gap in this country, a very real one, and there's no solutions for it. Other than the fact of, what we have been doing for the last 10 years, as I mentioned earlier, is just throwing people out. If they didn't have the skills, fine, they're done. And the majority of people that you work with all need continuous education. And that's where I really see coaching coming in, because we can't know everything at once. And then if we do know everything at once, how do you apply it? Right. And so, with the companies in the landscape of, what they're doing that's constantly evolving and changing, I really see, coaching as a gap education and learning for them to be able to continue to evolve, not only themselves, but where the company needs to go. So I think, in summary, it's really about looking at it from an education lens and it being part of every company core offering, because it does enhance engagement, it does enhance culture, it does enhance productivity. But the other big thing that really nobody is talking about is that we need to change this now. We've recycled everybody.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, so we've recycled everybody. So let's get them the learning and development that they need, that it's a fraction of the cost of what it could be to rehire someone. One rehire can cost up to $100,000, and you could bring in coaching, for a bunch of people, that could be half of that cost. And so it's just a numbers game. And so I think that, we've been in business for a bit, and, we have a lot of clients that, on our platform, and they're seeing the magnitude of the work that we're doing. and it just is making sense because
Yeah.
like everybody has the ability. We're giving them the agility to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And I think you highlighted some of the metrics, but you know, how would one spell out the ROI for this? You know, maybe they're watching this conversation. They're like, yeah, my organization needs this, but how would they justify it?
Yeah. So I'll give you real life experience of how I've justified it and, how we're helping a lot of our clients.
Yeah.
When I was at an organization, we were blowing through people every 6 months on the sales and customer service side. It was ridiculous. And Glassdoor ratings were terrible. The company started getting a bad name. The amount of people that were disenfranchised was ridiculous. And not only that, you got to look at the lens of, these people that are leaving are also your customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they're not going to invest in you if you're not investing in them.
Yeah.
What I did essentially was take a ridiculous amount of money that was stuck in talent acquisition to continue the rehire and rehire,
Mm-hmm.
and put that in, built, learning and development programs and brought in coaching to get people the skills that they need. And we were able to take that tenure from 6 months on average within sales and customer support to 1.2 years, pretty much overnight,
That's
because we were
awesome.
bringing, yeah, it's just common sense. I mean, like, if from a bottom line perspective, like, they could have spent $1 million rehiring these sales, and customer service professionals, and then productivity goes down. That there's a whole learning ramp. I mean, so like the $1 million is, really 2 million right now when you look at it from productivity.
Yep.
Or we could bring in all this development for a fraction of the cost, and it continues to enhance the run rate. It continues to enhance the productivity, and then not only that, people actually like coming to work again, because
Yeah.
nobody, it became a toxic environment,
Mm-hmm.
and so like it was killing everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so what are some qualities to look for if someone is looking for an executive coach? A lot of times in the market, there's a certification that, that kind of identifies a perfect executive coach. Should we look at certifications? Are they even relevant anymore? What are your thoughts?
I think certifications are important because, like, I think that we're all coaches, like, because we could all teach and educate someone, and it's about the how we do it
Yeah,
that matters. And so, a ton of coaches can have a ton of certifications, but it's how they actually impact somebody, and that's the thing that we really stress and value, especially as we're on coaches, is that I really don't care what you are.
yeah,
What I care about is who you are and how you're going to help other people. And so, for the coaches on our platform, majority of them, are certified through the ICF, CTI, IPAC, and a few more. But then there is a large group of coaches that are not certified, that have 25 to 30 years industry experience that's applicable.
that's
Because you got to look
amazing.
at what coaching is. Coaching is taking, goals and gaps that somebody has and being able to accelerate on them. And there's a lot of subject matter expertise that go into it, because like a lot of the soft skill gaps that we're seeing, we're actually finding that they don't have the core competencies down for their roles within finance and within sales or within marketing that they haven't learned yet. And so I really do think it's a combination of the industry experience that is super critical, and then being a leader that has really managed and taught someone to be able to get them through that and get to the next place. And so our coaches that quote unquote aren't certified, that we're actually working a certification path with them through one of the big coaching accreditations, which is pretty cool, because they're going to get the certification at a fraction of the cost and then have another thing to put to their name. But
Absolutely.
even without them being certified, they're the most sought out coaches. They have been in their shoes before. They have lived and they learned. They have gotten people and managed people, through development areas, and now they're just applying this full time, and for a job, which is great, because we're creating a whole different job, avenue for someone that, is tired of doing finance or is tired of doing sales. And I think that, just job creation, actually being a full-time educator,
Yeah,
gives a lot of people ample opportunity to continue to upskill themselves too, because like we're constantly upskilling our coaches outside of like, some certification. Like, what I mean? Like the future of work and the future of learning is here, and we need to make sure that our coaches are prepared so that they're preparing the rest of the workforce. So
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing that I'm most keen on.
Yeah, no, I can tell. So Kristy, how long is that relationship between the executive coach and kind of the mentee on average? Is it 3 months, What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on that?
Typically, we're seeing 6 month to year-long engagements, with it starting out at that 6 month. But because we're a marketplace of coaches, they have the ability to pick other coaches to fill in other gap areas that they have with new things that they want to learn and involve with. And so where we see people going to the year and beyond, is them really switching out their educator, their coach, and signing up with another one that has a core group of expertise to be able to help them further evolve. And so, I think the norm before we brought this market together was around the 6 months to a year to begin with. But now that we've brought, this whole market of coaches together in a community, it's ongoing education, for any gap areas. And that's why we're seeing that people not only are gravitating towards it, like they're hooked, and are not hooked because it makes them not necessarily feel good. I mean, it does, but the reason that they feel good is that they've learned something. They're not stressed out that they don't know what they don't know, and they can actually now apply it to their job. And once you have unlocked that learning and unlocked that potential,
Yeah.
that's euphoric in a way. Get into a flow state, and once you're in that flow state, a lot of the noise that we constantly deal with kind of subsides, and you're just in a very productive, healthy space.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So, Kristy, I want to ask you, what's the one thing that you want someone to take away from this conversation?
I think the biggest thing, the saying, and I don't mince words if you haven't figured it out, is just give people a chance. I mean, it's majority of people out there are coachable, and majority of people out there have fire in their belly to be able to want to do something and progress, and to be able to learn in different ways. We have to stop treating people like a commodity.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have to start being human again. And the way that, to get through human again is through education. And so stop throwing people out and start investing in them. And there's lots of different ways to invest in people. And I think that, it's a relationship between an employer and an employee. And if there's not a relationship between an employer and employee where there's not a mutual investment, then it's not going to work out.
Awesome. Well, Kristy, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And this concludes our webcast.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.